Hey, this is Dave with Rough Notes Magazine. We're all about helping agents and brokers thrive, and we're impressed with what you're doing. Can we feature you and your team on our front cover?
Monica, tell me the feeling you had when you first heard that your agency was going to be on the front cover of Rough Notes magazine.
I was like, "Oh my god, I'm now playing with the big guys like Jason."
Ah, no, Monica, I have not been blessed with the privilege that you have. So, no, that is great. I bet you did. I ask that
Yeah.
question every time, and I can kind of feel the way that you probably took that. And when you got off the phone and you were ecstatic, and you went and told other people or whoever it was, it doesn't matter, there came that point in time. I've never asked anybody this, Monica. Just for
Yeah.
all you Rough Notes listeners, Monica and I know each other, so it'll be kind of a more free flowing conversation.
Yeah.
Monica, when you thought to yourself, why did they pick me? And then you thought about it might have been this. What was that? What was that you thought maybe this is the reason why they asked me?
Well, I have to say that I'm great, and I have to believe that I'm great.
There you go.
Um, I've been an enabler, right? So during the past 20 years in this industry, I've enabled a lot of people to get to those places, right? Like I've worked with many companies, many agencies before, and I am the one that enables for that to happen. So I think it was a great feeling, understanding and knowing that I can do it for myself, right, rather than doing it for others. And I was a little taken aback because I didn't expect that to happen, nor I was looking for it either. But I think during the past 3 4 years we've made a lot of progress, a lot of noise, changing a lot of things within this industry, and I'm proud of everything that I've done, my teams have done, and how we are shifting this industry a little bit, just that little grain of salt. So I'm happy to be recognized for that.
So you're great. Why would you say you're great? Why would you say your agency's great?
Uh, well, I am not great at bragging. That's something I'm not great at. So it's very
Right.
uncomfortable. This is a very uncomfortable conversation. Um,
Community?
yeah, I think I do certain things very well, which is creating communities. Feeding networks, connecting people. That are some things that I'm really great at, in creating systems, right? I am
Mm,
very systematic when it comes to how you should run something and identifying those risks. I'm really good at that.
mhm.
So I think, once I learned that I'm really good at that, I've been focusing on that and in that power for the past 5 years, and is what has brought me to where I am today, right? So I am here at Breezy. I have my consulting firm, which is New Rise Consulting. We have the BA company, which is Savital, which we went through the
Mhm.
trenches together of you
Yep.
creating yours, we creating ours. So I think by focusing on having the right partnerships and the right people around you, and really recognizing that what can you do good, and what do you need to learn, in bringing that home. I think it's just been good to feel that it's producing some good results, right?
What's head count? What's premium size of the agency?
So the premium size of the agency right now is close to 50 million. um it's only 7 years old. And I only came in about 3.5 years ago. So I wasn't the founder of the company. I
Is it
just came in.
COO? Isn't that the best? Isn't that what you do? What's your title there, Monica?
No, I came the CEO as of September last year. So I retired my partners.
I did not know that, Monica. So now
Yes.
you are the CEO of the agency. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I
Sorry about that.
retired. I
That's great.
retired.
Congrats.
Thank you. I retired my partners in September, my business partners in September. So they are up into doing better things now. And yeah, it's been a great journey. That was the goal from the beginning, right? Like create something sustainable, systematic that allow them to step aside. And our goal was 5 years. We achieved that in 3.5.
Wow.
So
So
it was
Monica,
great.
that's an impressive thing. So tell me a little bit more about this. How many partners left and do you have partners?
Yeah, so here at Breezy is four partners. It's three best
Okay.
friends that started this
Okay.
agency. So they are Brazilian. I did not have a relationship with them before I became a partner at the agency. Just only knew one of them professionally. We served at the Young Agent Board together, and that's how we
Okay.
met. So I started consulting with them. I started, giving them a little bit of advice on how they should, tackle certain problems because they had no insurance background, right? So one
Yeah.
came from it was an economics. The other one is IT, who's my CTO today, and the
Okay.
other one came from a international relations and business background. So they had no insurance. That was the thing. They were growing an amazing machine that had no operational background.
Wow.
No
That's a lot of
bones,
agencies today,
no
Monica. You
no
know that.
bones, no bones whatsoever. So I came in to create that infrastructure. And even though they love the industry, they love doing other things within the industry, and they wanted and they had a goal of exiting sooner rather than later. So I took on the challenge. It was a big challenge because I'd never worked with the Hispanic clientele before. So even though I am Hispanic, I focused on other, demographics before and other type of clientele. I came from the habitational, very heavy commercial personal lines, focus on building homes, everything that had to do
Hmm.
with the habitational. So moving here was, you have to learn a new language because none of the clients spoke English. So
Wow.
I had to learn Portuguese. I had to learn how the Hispanic community work, their buying behaviors, their marketing, how
Wow.
to navigate those waters because I had no experience in regards of that. And then the operational side, I thought it was going to be a plug and play, but to my surprise, I kind of had to leave to the side everything that I knew, and I had to understand the behavior of the consumer, of the Hispanic consumer, or the minority consumer, which is very different when it comes to the service side. It's
Hmm.
very different to what I was used to. So I had to learn, what are the vessels, what are the methods of communication that they utilize, which are very different to the ones that probably us as consumers we use. So they utilize WhatsApp heavily, they utilize like Facebook
Ah.
Messenger heavily. They don't like receiving emails whatsoever, and in insurance everything is an email, right?
And Monica, am
um
I correct? I have a friend who has a Hispanic agency, Michael Cruz, and he
yes.
says
Oh, I
that
know, Michael. Yeah.
anything they get in the mail, they're calling you. They
Yeah.
get something in the mail,
Yeah.
they don't
Yeah.
understand it, they're calling you. He said it's very.
I have clients that come, I have four different locations now, right? So I have clients that come with their pile of mail, and you have to sit down with them and tell them, this is a scam. You don't have to pay attention to this. This is a bill you have to
Good for
pay,
you.
right? This is something important, paperwork for school for your children. So there is the
Hmm.
thing is that I had to learn that within my own community, there is different pockets of people and how they behave is very different, right? You have the immigrant that doesn't speak English that comes through that door and they don't know what they're doing because they've never done anything here. So you have
Mm-hmm.
to guide them through, like, hey, this is the social security office, this is the DMV, this is what you need to do, this is the process, right? These are the
Mm-hmm.
offices, you have to get a lawyer, these are the things, right? Like, it's very hands on, not just sell them an auto policy or a business policy. You have to guide them through the cultural changes that they're going through moving from one country to another. And then you have the others that are very business savvy, that have good businesses going on and they are very entrepreneurial, they have money, they make money quick and all these things,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't speak English, right? So you have to help them in a whole different level. And then you have people like me, that I am a second generation. I grew up here. I still like to do certain things in my language, but I prefer English. And, I'm pretty savvy in terms of, I'm more Americanized. So I can deal with the email, I can deal with all of that. But you better call me, because if I don't find you, I'm going to find somebody else, right? Because I need the
Mm-hmm.
attention, right? I'm needy that way,
Yeah.
right? So, um, it's different pockets of people, and
Yeah.
how you treat them and how you service them is very different. So imagine having to come to that world where there is such a big need and they don't understand insurance. They hate insurance because nobody explains it to them. they
Mm-hmm.
they see it as a something additional that I need to pay, where I can be sending that money to my family in another country. So I see it as a waste, right? So changing that mentality, changing that perspective, it was a very big learning curve,
So, Monica, let's
for
talk
me.
about this. Let's talk about internal. So, you talked
Yeah.
about the external, learning the customer. So, you get in
Mhm.
there and you're like, hey, this is going to be a great opportunity. I'm going to
Yeah.
take this over, CEO. I get in there. I'm Monica Adwani, and I am a freaking freak when it comes to structure.
Mm.
And I get in here and I'm like, wow, this is just like every other agency, growing like crazy, but
Yep.
no systems, right? And we're
Yeah.
not going to beat them up because you probably can't enough.
Yep.
It's like
No.
most agencies. Where do you start, Monica? For somebody listening and they're thinking,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I'm in that situation.
Yeah.
Where can they start?
Well, that's
How
a
do you
big
get everybody on
question.
board, right? I mean, where do
That's
you
a big
start
question.
first?
Well, the first thing I did actually, when I came in here, we had a meeting with the entire staff. And the first thing I did is whoever wasn't on board, they were out the door. So I've pretty much fired like 20 people at once.
Sound like
um,
Elon Musk over there. He's like, I buy it, you're out.
yeah,
I
it
mean,
was
how
really
did you?
hard.
Okay, let's stop, Monica. Let's click right here. How did you determine if they were on board or not? How long did that take? That's a big issue with a
Behavior.
lot of agencies.
Behavior. You really need to, I was here for like 2 weeks and I watched people's behaviors, right? How they were adapting to change, right? And I started with small things, right? I was like, hey
Mm-hmm.
guys, this week we're going to implement a new process in regards of, let's say, applications, right? Like, I
Mm-hmm.
need all applications to, from PandaDoc or DocuSign or whatever you use, I need them to go through this process, right? Very
Mm-hmm.
simple. 3 steps.
Grace.
Okay. Um, some adapted quickly. Some were like, I'm not gonna do that because I've been doing it this way. And I was like, well, check mark, right? Like, candidate number one, right? So that's kind of like, you start implementing a small things, and you start observing who is resistant, right? Why
Mm-hmm.
is that resistancy and whatnot? And unfortunately, those are going to be the detractors of your process, and they are going to dictate if you are successful or not. So I love to focus on those detractors and remove them from the equation. And that's what needs to happen first. You need to remove the detractors,
I
even if
love
it
you, Monica.
hurts.
I
Even if
love
it
you, girl.
hurts, even if it hurts.
It's business. We're not trying to
Yeah,
be personal here. It's business,
yeah.
right?
To a point, I remember I had like from maybe 6 people in an office, I went down to 2. And they were like, what we're going to do? We can do with all this work. And I was like, well, we're going to hire new people. And the new people that come in, they're going to do it the right way. And whoever doesn't like it, there's the door. And that's it. So, I created a lot of enemies at the beginning,
I bet you did. I bet you
but
did.
it
But you
is
gained a lot
what's
of respect
necessary.
from the people who were hardworking that were getting overseen by those who
Yeah.
weren't. So you created
Yeah.
its double side.
And
Yeah.
believe me, until today, that is still a practice. And there is a joke, with my staff here. They say, and you can, I can give you their contacts to ask them. They said, if Monica calls you to the conference room at 4 p.m. on a Friday, all you have to do is leave your computer and never come back. And that's it. You don't need a conversation. You don't need anything, because you know that if you've been spoken to more than 2, 3 times, because I'm very gracious, I give people
Yes.
chances.
Yes.
But just don't come back. Don't come back.
Monica, 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 I'm weird this way. I don't feel bad when I have to let somebody go for the same reason you just said. I would
Yeah.
never come up to somebody because they didn't move the panda dock and say, "Up, I told you once, you're out of here." No, that's a complete
Yeah.
ass, right?
Yeah.
But I've probably told you 3, 4, 5 times, and we've
Yeah.
spoke of it. You've admitted you're doing it wrong, and you keep doing it wrong. I got to do what's best for the business. I
Mm-hmm.
told a guy a couple of years ago. He got mad at me, and he found me later on at a baseball. It was a soccer game, and he came up to me and he started talking to me about the fact. And I just said to him, I said, "Hey, now that we're talking outside the office, I said I'm responsible for 35 car payments, man. I'm
Yeah.
responsible for like 80 house payments. I'm responsible for about 20 some kids that are in college right now. That's what I'm responsible for. And I can't
Right.
have mutiny when you decide not to do what we talked
Yeah.
about, right?
Yeah.
The guy ended up going on and being successful in something else, which kind of makes you feel better as well. But
Yeah.
you're right. You just have to do it. And you shouldn't have guilt if you did the proper steps to try to
Yeah.
rehabilitate. I can't, that's not the word, but retool, redirect them in the
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
way, you know?
Just making them accountable, I think, is the right
There you
word
go.
for it.
That's the
Like,
word.
you need to be accountable for your own. The last fire I did was like 3 weeks ago, and it was hard. She's a single mom, but I had to do it. And believe me, I feel awful. I do feel guilty, and I do feel awful still.
Yeah.
I'm that kind of human. I don't like to play with anybody's life. But at the end of the day, just like you said, I am responsible for over 150 families. And
Mhm.
it's in one detracts all the others, and it creates this culture of unfairness, right? Like,
Mhm.
and then the question becomes, Monica, why are you accepting that when you request from me for me to give my 200%? So it's
That's
not
right.
fair that
And
you
it's not.
are accepting that. So I have to look for the other 149 that are doing the right
Mhm.
thing, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, that was kind of like the first action that I
Okay.
took. And then
Did leadership give you any pushback in this? Not just the team, but how about leadership?
no, I had a green light with them to do what was necessary. The partners here, they understood that things needed to get done, and we always discussed and agreed on how things were going to be managed before they
Okay.
were implemented, because at that moment in time they were involved on the operation day to day, right? So and I was building a relationship with them as well. So I was very cautious in asking, how do you think this person is going to take it? How do you think? And then I kind of manage, those conversations in a way where everybody was like, okay. So
Mhm.
there was a lot of maneuvering, because, here comes this person that doesn't even speak my language to tell me what I need to do. She doesn't have a relationship with these people, and she wants to change everything overnight. And
Right.
that was a very hard thing to navigate. I do remember
Mhm.
there was a boycott, and like four of the girls, they got
Boy.
together and they met with the partners and they asked them to fire me. But today they I have helped one of them to buy a house, like the other one has an amazing career.
That's
so
great,
so
Monica. That's
I
great.
it will happen, and it
It
happened
does.
to me, and it's okay. But it's a matter of staying focused, and giving them direction, right? Like communication is key. And I will
Love
not
it.
tell you we're perfect, in any way in terms of the communication, but every day gets a little bit better. So that was the first thing, and the second thing was understanding. I think, and this is like the biggest differentiator and the biggest lesson I've learned in the past, 3.5, 4 years. I switched the script into how we want to work as an agency versus how does our customers need us to work as an agency. And I think that was the
Explain.
biggest thing. Well, as for I will say for 16 years, I was dedicated to create systems and processes internally to help the staff and the agency become more efficient and successful. And with that, we will teach the consumer how to communicate with us because it worked for us. With the Hispanic community, that doesn't work, right?
Okay.
We have to adapt to what works for them and make it efficient enough so we're not wasting time. And that is
Gotcha.
a very different perspective and very
It
difficult
is.
thing to do, because
That
I
is.
had to learn how can systems integrate with how they like to be communicated and how they respond faster to our requests, to the needs that they have, all these things, and integrate that into our process so we can serve them better, more efficiently, faster.
Love
and
that.
and, and that was the biggest lesson. And that's the base of how this company is run. It is
Monica,
based on service.
Monica, don't you really think though, like that's so genius that that works even I think outside of a Hispanic. I think
Oh
that could
yeah.
work with, you know what I mean? That's
Yeah,
such a
the
great way to
consumer
say
behavior is changing, and
we
and
still want
this
to be
is, yeah.
efficient,
Yeah.
but let's see how they want to communicate or they want to do business and get
Hmm.
more efficient at that.
Yeah.
Is kind of what you're saying,
Yeah.
rather than let's just worry about us getting efficient and making the consumer adopt to
Yeah.
us. What a great way
Yeah.
to look at that. I can
Yeah.
see both ways.
Yeah, so
Definitely.
like, for example, we have a good portion of the book being truckers, and that world was new to me. And still, I'm trying to understand how to do a DOT, but that's a whole conversation for other day. But one of the pain points that they had, is that they will be waiting on a warehouse at midnight. No one is here, right, physically,
Mm,
to give them a COI, and they will lose money. They will lose time because they couldn't be on the road, right? So Simar, who's a genius, he's our CTO, and honestly, the brain behind everything that we do technologically is him enabling it and coding it in his team. So I have to give kudos to him, because without him I couldn't do my job. And
makes sense.
he created these, we we found an app that already exists in the market, and he found the way of creating an open API with that app where our truckers can go in, and it doesn't matter what time of the day, we can get them COIs at any given time, 24/7, approved by us.
Uh,
We have a customer
uh,
service team, all of that, but now it's completely automated. It doesn't need, first it started with like manual labor, but now it's completely automated, and our truckers can actually do twice the loads that
wow.
insured with other
Because they're not sitting
agencies.
around waiting.
They are not sitting around waiting.
Mm,
So it's like how do we create systems internally that can alleviate the pain points of our customers, our consumers? So we're very, very service driven. And the problems that exist internally, none of them are solved unless we take the consideration of how is that going to affect the customer.
Hmm.
So some processes are not as efficient as they could be, because there might be that component that if we change this is how it's going to affect the consumer, hence our NPS can go down.
Hmm.
So
Love it.
that's been I think the biggest lesson for me, and how I shifted my perception and how I operate, right? And you're absolutely right. I do hope that in the future I can take this and help other insurance agencies do the same,
Yeah, you
just because
should.
it's life changing, honestly, for the
Yeah.
consumer and for the team as well.
Definitely understand. I think just even 12 months from now, with
Hmm.
agentic AI and all these
Yeah.
bots and everything coming out, something that your CTO, it was
Yeah.
him, right?
Simar. Yeah. Yeah. It's a
Yes, yes.
him.
So
It's a
what
him.
Seymour has created, which is so rare today, in
Yeah.
12, 18 months, is going to be a very
Yeah.
a common thing. But Samara is going to be way down the line with agentic running thousands of
I
bots,
hope so.
And
I
so,
hope
oh, he
so.
will be. Oh, he will be. The technology's there. Agencies
Yeah.
right now, I'm seeing agencies build things in their office right now on their own
Hmm.
LLMs. That is just blowing my mind.
Yeah. Yeah. We
Um,
have our own AI. Her name is Bia, and she's
mhm.
amazing. And the customers love her because she's so fast.
Yep, she is fast, and she's always working. So
Yes.
I just did a press release with mine, and we introduced her as
Yeah.
a real employee. And I
Yeah.
said, ever meet someone with 2,700 majors, 10,600 minors, 15,000
Uh,
master's degrees, and over 30,000 doctorates from more than 100 universities? Meet
yeah.
Gail, because she is.
Oh, I
And
love
then
Gail.
I also say, while Gail can do almost anything a human receptionist can do, and then some, there's one thing she can't do, and that's answer specific insurance questions.
Yeah.
But she can get you directly to an agent who can. So I'm just
Right.
trying to let
Right.
them know. Because, yeah, I don't
Right.
need them answering questions, even though she's probably smarter than me. I ask her
Yeah.
questions all the time, like, hey,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
anyways,
we've
hey,
been
hey,
we've been
Monica.
feeding we've been feeding Bia with insurance jargon, and it's
I
it's
love it.
incredible what they can
Monica,
do.
it's
But
absolutely
anyways,
amazing. It's absolutely amazing. No more screaming down the hall. Hey, does this company have this or that, or how do we do this? It's Ask Chat. All right, Monica, wrapping up, any last minute things you want to say to anybody out there? I think you really dove into really two great parts of your agency because they're
yeah.
parts that you've helped create. Anything you want to wrap up and say?
No, I think, the most important thing I can say to any agent out there is, like, don't desist, right? Like, it's very important that you really keep moving forward and keep fighting for what you believe on. And if there is anything I would like to put out there is, yes, focus on what will make you and your agency better, but start looking to what the consumer needs and how you can all be great
Mm-hmm.
together. Because the key in the next few years, is going to be retention and consumer behavior. And talking about all these things like AI, how can you reduce your operational cost, all those things are amazing. But if you don't have a consumer to serve, what
Good
is
point.
that worth for? So and the other
True.
thing, something to bring to light, I know different agencies have different focuses, but pay attention to the wealth reports out there. There is such a huge opportunity within the minority sector, and especially the Hispanic community is the fastest wealth creation community in America right now. And we all within this industry should be focusing on how we can make our agencies a little bit more diverse and integrate them
I
to
agree.
provide the service that the different communities needs. Not just the Hispanic, but you have the Asian community, the Indian community. You have people from
Latinos.
everywhere in the world,
Hmm.
and they all deserve and need a different type of service. So dig into that, and take advantage of it, because the
Yep.
reality is that it is a great opportunity for us in the industry, and that's the future consumer. So
Yeah.
we need to start paying attention to it now. We're already late for that.
Monica, we never doubt Dave for finding people like yourself. And once
Thank
again,
you.
he knocked it out of the park. Monica, I think you give a lot. You come with a lot of credibility, not having the experience, and then having 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years. You said you've been there since 2022,
2022, so almost 4 years.
2020.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
almost 4 years. Yeah, time's
Yeah.
going quick. Now the
Yes.
CEO of $50+ million revenue, or not revenue, soon, but premium.
Soon.
Boy, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? Goodness gracious.
Yeah, you won't
Wow.
be talking to me. I'll be like in
Yeah,
Puerto
yeah. I
Rico.
wouldn't. I would have to go through 3 executive
Yeah, just
assistants.
like come to Puerto Rico and meet me in my house. That's it. I'm not talking to anybody.
Oh, Monica, thank you very much. I really do appreciate your time, and you've been
Thank you.
fantastic.
Thanks for
Okay.
the opportunity. I appreciate it.
And to all you Rough Notes listeners, I hope you got something out of this. We stopped and clicked a couple spots. I do always want to take you from that paper mail magazine that you get that comes in your office every month between the 10th and the 15th, and take you to the digital stream here with Monica Adwani. And she's a friend of mine. You can see why she's a friend of mine, right? She's brilliant. She's smart. She's a leader. She's adaptive. She's enthusiastic. And she's just multi-talented. So, Dave, good job out there. You really kind of want to just say something real at the end. Everybody in the industry does know that we lost Walt. Walt was a leader here at Rough Notes. He was and when I say here, I don't work for Rough Notes, but this is their podcast. He was a leader in our industry. He really, truly was. If you went to Indianapolis, if you ever went to Rough Notes, I had the pleasure of doing it and getting a tour from him, and just showing really all the things that are in the industry today that actually Walt was a part of. Walt was one of those guys that if you ask him, he probably started everything. But when you actually sat down and you started talking to him, he really had a lot of say in the industry. Things that we do today, he was doing years ago. He's always been a visionary, and he will be missed. Walt is an exact example of someone who has laid the road that me and Monica walk on today. Now, me and Monica may be trying to repave that road, but it's the foundation that people like Walt and many other people like him, especially right now, that we're losing in this industry. I thank you, Walt. RIP to you, and to everybody there at Rough Notes who personally got to know Walt way better than most of us did. I know that you are hurting and grieving, and my heart goes out to you as well as Monica's does. Once again, thank you for being a Rough Notes listener, and we'll see you next time.